So let's dive into a massive challenge in AI right now. You've got one of these incredibly powerful language models, but how do you make it an actual expert on your stuff, your documents, your data? It sounds simple, but the answer is way more complex than you might think, and, getting it wrong can have some pretty huge consequences. I mean, this is the million-dollar question, right? You want to be able to feed your company's internal PDFs, all your research, your legal files, whatever it is, into an AI and get smart, accurate answers back. But look, if you've ever actually tried this, you know it's rarely as easy as just hitting upload. So what's the secret? How do the pros actually pull this off?
Okay, so the big technology that everyone talks about, the one that promises to solve all this, is called RAG. That stands for Retrieval Augmented Generation. And the idea behind it is actually brilliant. Instead of just relying on its kind of vague general knowledge, the AI first retrieves the relevant bits of info from your documents, and then it uses that to generate the answer. It's basically like giving the AI an open book test.
But here's the catch. RAG isn't just one magic button you press. It's a whole multi-stage pipeline, kind of like an assembly line. First, you got to parse the documents, then you break them into smaller chunks, then you have to find the right chunks for a given question, and only then can you generate an answer. If any single one of these steps is even a little bit off, the whole thing can just completely fall apart. And how much does getting it right actually matter? Well, a lot. I mean, look at this. A basic, naive, out-of-the-box RAG setup. It might only get you about 45% accuracy. But a pipeline that's been carefully tuned and optimized, that can jump all the way up to an incredible 98%. The takeaway here is crystal clear. Optimization isn't just a nice-to-have, it's everything. And this really brings us to the most important principle of all, and it's captured perfectly by the team behind a tool called OtoRAG. They say that not evaluating your system is like studying hard for a test, but then never actually taking it. You feel like you're doing a lot of work, but you have absolutely no idea if you're actually learning or getting any better. Evaluation, that's the key. So, just how fragile is this whole pipeline? Well, the challenges become really clear when we look at a real-world example. Let's talk about processing documents in Korean, a language with a unique structure that can totally break a lot of standard AI tools. Okay, let's take parsing. That's the very first step. Korean documents often have these really complex layouts, tables inside of other tables. A standard parser just gets completely confused. It spits out this mangled, totally useless text. But a specialized one, it can read it perfectly. If you get this first step wrong, nothing else you do down the line even matters.
And then you hit the next hurdle. Tokenization. This is just how the AI breaks sentences down into words. A generic tool has no clue about Korean grammar, so it splits words all wrong. And that means even a simple keyword search is going to fail, because the system can't even identify the words it's supposed to be looking for. You absolutely need a language-specific tool to get it right. So if every single step is a potential point of failure, how in the world do you build a system that actually works? Well, the secret is to stop guessing and start measuring. You have to adopt a really systematic, scientific approach of constant testing and evaluation. That's how you make the leap from 45% all the way up to 98%. But here's the thing. To test your system, you need a good test. And this is what a lot of developers call the final boss of building a RAG system. You have to create a high-quality evaluation dataset, a set of questions and answers to actually measure your performance against. And it's way harder than it sounds. So why is this so tough? I mean, for one, you can't just ask an AI to do it for you. Even these super powerful language models often come up with weird, ambiguous, or just plain irrelevant test questions. To create a really useful test, you need deep human domain expertise and a creative spark that, for now at least, AI often lacks. Okay, so you've got all these moving parts, right? Different parsers, different chunkers, different retrievers. Trying to manually test every single possible combination? It's impossible. The only real way to win this game is to automate the entire optimization process. And this is exactly where a tool like OtoRAG comes into the picture. It's an open-source framework, and it's designed to do all that heavy lifting for you. It systematically tests thousands of different combinations in your RAG pipeline, and it automatically finds the one that gives you the best performance for the lowest cost at the fastest speed. For example, think about the best way to search your documents. Should you use a traditional keyword search, that's something like BM25, or a more modern vector search that actually understands meaning and context? Well, the answer is usually a hybrid, a mix of both. But what's the perfect blend? OtoRAG actually tests all the possibilities and finds that optimal recipe,
In this case, maybe a 65-35 split that works best for your specific data.
So what's the big takeaway from all of this? Building an AI that's a true expert isn't about finding one magic, silver bullet component. It's about embracing a rigorous, scientific process. It's about measuring, testing, and refining every single step of that pipeline until it works flawlessly.
And that kind of leaves us with a final thought to chew on. Maybe the biggest breakthroughs in AI won't just come from building bigger and bigger models. Maybe they'll come from developing these smarter, more systematic methods to perfect the amazing models we already have. What do you think?